I want to start off with something really cheesy, and I just can't. I don't have the right thing. Oh, I got it. Hit the music. Waka waka, bitches! It's your boy Dre. My partner in crime today, my curmudgeon in crime, then is already looking at me through the video chat with disdain. So this is gonna go really well.
But this time I get to be his pack pal.
Oh,
instead of his curmudgeon in crime.
I'm sorry, I ruined it. My pack pal.
Maybe I don't want to actually be your pack pal because that game is pretty gettable. We'll get into that later.
Nobody wants to be pack pal. Nobody ever wants to be pack pal.
I want to give you some pack picks. Oh wait, that game's not in here.
Did you actually have pack picks?
No.
I did. It was really. It's as dumb as you think it is. It's really stupid. I drew the crappiest looking Pac-Man, and they worked. It was dumb. Anyway, that is not here on Pac-Man Museum Plus. I guess that's a weird title, huh? Pac-Man Museum Plus? What's the plus entail?
It has more games? Question mark?
More games than what?
Do you remember Pac-Man Museum? I think that was on Steam a long time ago. That game got delisted. It's been erased.
Oh, that's how we previously had played Pac-Man Championship Edition on PC. You're correct. So this is a quote-unquote sequel to that, but who would even remember that? They could have just called this Pac-Man Museum.
The same schmuckos who would buy it over and over again. That's who would know.
You would have the same schmuckos who should probably research this before they do a pod about it. But I'm not really that smart. Apparently,
it's okay.
Anyway,
we're suckers for Pac-Man. We go waka waka for Pac-Man every time. Apparently,
we as a collective unit go waka waka. This is really dumb already. Okay, so. What? A few months ago, we found out about this? Sometime, late last winter?
They announced it, yeah. I think it was February. They stealth dropped a trailer, seemingly out of nowhere, with the craziest, most hype announcer you've ever heard in your life.
Oh, yeah. This dude was so hype. I've never heard anyone this excited about Pac-Man Arrangement Console Edition or whatever things he had to say, Pac and Pal. It was very chipper. I can't even do it justice.
I can't even do it justice, and I consider myself relatively exuberant.
Pack and Roll Remix. And then he would describe it in that same voice. Oh man, how many takes did that guy have to do? Because you can't do that one shot. You're gonna die, right?
That would be amazing if you could record it for that one shot. Oh my god, his voice would just implode. Oh my god, I'm just imagining it.
Oh, anyway, let's really quickly, since this is a compilation and it feels prudent to do it in this context, let's very quickly list what's here. We got Pac-Man, Super Pac-Man, Pac and Pal, Pac-Land, Pac-Mania, Pac-Attack, Pac-in-Time, Pac-Man Arrangement Arcade, Pac-Man Arrangement PSP, Pac-Man Championship Edition, Pac-Motos, Pac-and-Roll Remix, Pac-Man Battle Royale, and Pac-Man 256. So that's all that's here, which is a very good lineup for your $20.
It is a lot for your $20, and some of these games haven't been re-released in a hot minute. So this is super cool.
When's the last time we saw Pac and Pal?
It's kind of been a long time. Some of these games are better than others, but it's still really cool seeing all of these. Well, most of these anyway.
I mean, look, even the ones that aren't good, it's funny to have them here and to look. They're amusing to dunk on, I guess, right? I mean, that's something. I don't know.
There's some of that coming. Oh, there's some of that.
So let's talk about the presentation real quick before we get into each game. So, it's presented as a a single room like an arcade where you can like sort of decorate it Animal Crossing style, put down the cabinets that you want, put down the plants and whatever the hell also. You're gonna have to help me here because this is something I really didn't get into. So like it seemed
Really?
when I looked at your arcade, it was a lot more decorated than mine. Yeah, I just press plus and like pick a game. I don't care at all.
Come on, man.
I don't give a shit.
You love decorating, though. I've seen your Animal Crossing stuff.
Not in this. I don't know.
Oh, come on, man.
I don't need it here.
Maybe I'm just totally vapid. The moment I saw plants, I'm like, yo, dog, I like these plants. Like, holy smokes, the philodendron. Let's get in here, baby. But maybe I'm literally the only person who had that reaction. But
oh my god, I don't know, man. I don't give a damn. It's not any fault of the game. Well, it kind of is because it runs like shit. But like
it runs in Unity, by the way. It says in the beginning.
I can tell.
We do like to dunk on Unity ports, but
Unity dunks on itself. I mean, look at this.
For context, we both play this on Switch, so maybe on other platforms it runs a little differently, but
that's so fucking crappy though. Like you have to play it on PS5 to get like a arcade, like a small arcade window that runs like 60 frames a second. Are you joking? Switch can't do this. We can run New Donk City at 60 frames a second, and we can't run a little tiny arcade with a few decorations. Are you serious?
Yo, man, those plants are pretty dense.
No, they're not.
There's a lot of cool things though. There's really random things. You get lampposts, trash cans. There's a gacha system, so you can like literally pull gachapon license and all that stuff. By the way, because I guess like Bandai Namco actually owns the gachapon like sort of trademark, so that was interesting. But I didn't
know that was a trademarkable thing. Actually,
I didn't know either. But you can actually pull like all the different Pac-Man characters. And but as you fulfill requirements, you get pack visitors and ghosts. I don't know why ghosts would just be chilling your arcade. That seems dangerous, but
well, if you just stand there, they kind of push you around, like as they're like milling about. It's like, okay, I mean, I was standing in front of this arcade machine. I guess I'm not now, Inky. Like, thanks.
Inky wants to play. Inky's gonna like interrupt your run and shove your ass out away from the cabinet. That's what's gonna happen. Yeah.
Has Inky ever said fuck?
Probably.
Really? What does Inky sound like, you think? Do you think he is kind of a scratchy, squeaky voice? Fuck! Or like...
That's what I was going to go for. like, fuck! Wait, that's high pitch. I don't think I got that right.
No. Crazy Taxi?
Fuck! Yeah, Crazy Taxi ghost voice is exactly what we were going to plan for, yes.
I think the presentation is pretty good overall. Besides that, it's just that, I mean, this is kind of a fault of the game, but not really. There are two games called Pac-Man Arrangement, and there's no way to differentiate between the two. They do have different logos.
They do have different logos.
You don't really know which is which until you pick it, and you know, gee, what should I pick? Pac-Man Arrangement or Pac-Man Arrangement?
Now, to be fair, one of them's on the ghetto console cabinet, and one of it is an arcade cabinet.
I'm picking from the menu because I'm not decorating this shit, so I just see I just see Pac-Man Arrangement and Pac-Man Arrangement.
I see I was rewarded for my plant fanboyism this time around, but
apparently, because I tell you what, I don't know. Look, they do it just fine. The gacha is interesting or whatever. I did it a few times. I just don't care. But that's good, right? You don't have to care. Like the games are here. You can just pick them from a menu. You don't have to do all that shit.
I think it's really cool that it gives you the option of doing either or, because that sets it apart from other compilations, even the prior Namco Museum on Switch, which was a pretty cool menu, but it's still just a menu. I like having like the aesthetic option, to be entirely honest.
I mean, look, this is the most back in my day thing I might get about here, but like, I'm an old school Namco Museum, like PS1 person. Those 5 compilations, man, like those were it for me. And that was a museum as much as you could do in PS1 graphics that ran 60 frames a second, mind you. Let me put that out there.
But it didn't have a scrolling background.
Okay, well, you know what? I bet if Namco Museum wanted to do that, it could maintain a frame rate too. Anyway.
But no, that's the funny thing though, before we go on, that was a literal museum. This is not really a museum. It's like, not that they necessarily should call it Pac-Man Arcade, but at that point the museum part is just like the legacy branding thing more than anything.
But that's been the case for 20 years though. Like, think about like a Namco Museum, quote unquote, on like PS2, Cube, and Xbox. That shit, if it was on Xbox, that doesn't have a museum. You just pick stuff from the menu.
I understand that. It's just that this leans into like a virtual arcade, so it's like, it's my own museum arcade, I guess.
Well, Namco Museum Switch is no more a museum than this either, right? That's just kind of a fancy menu, which is cool.
It was a cool menu. I really like that menu.
But, you know, anyway, I really enjoyed that Namco Museum stuff back in the day, so to me, that's like the gold standard. And look, not everything's going to be that. And that's fine. And look, we have different ways to show like supplemental material nowadays and compilations, whether it's Street Fighter 30th anniversary, whether it's whatever, right? Like there's all sorts of shit.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not saying I clamor literally for that museum setup, but you know, this decorate your arcade gotcha shit doesn't do it for me. It's fine though.
You should buy this game as a gift for Christmas for somebody and say, yo, it's got some gotcha arcade shit.
They don't give a fuck. They just want to be, they'll just be like, where's Ms. Pac-Man? Right? So like,
that's not on there, dog.
Nope. Anyway, what is here though, as we get into the games, is of course the original Pac-Man. I don't really know how to talk about this game in the year of our Lord 2022. So I guess I'll just pose it to you. This will probably be the most interesting way to cover this very, very, very covered game. What is the most impressive thing about it today in 2022? What is the most impressive thing about Pac-Man?
Well, 42 years later, I think the most important part to me is that it accomplishes a lot with one maze, right? So even when you complete a maze, technically speaking, the successive rounds occur on the same maze, right? But it doesn't feel repetitive. I really feel like it feels like a fresh experience, even though like you're really technically playing on like one like maze. So like as you play the game, it ramps up in difficulty, and like you always feel like there's a high degree of tension with how the ghosts like chase you. Right?
I think that's it, right? The AI, there's nothing like it. And there was nothing like it before. It's probably not a whole lot like it since we don't really do a whole lot of... It's not like Pac-Man kicked off a maze game craze. I mean, there were some copycats, but you know what I mean.
It's really
not
unto itself.
Yeah, it's really unto itself. So it's really the AI of the ghosts, right? That's really what...
In the year of our Lord, 1980, I think that is what sets it apart now, isn't it?
Yes. Actually, see, that's it for me. The art and sound design were so far ahead of its time, it wasn't even funny. Like, there's a reason why Pac-Man was popular, like, the entirety of the 80s. Like, you know, we're born later into the 80s, me in 82, you in 85. Pac-Man was still a big deal. Like, that never actually, even though there wasn't new Pac-Man games, that still, I don't want to say lingered, because that sounds like a pejorative, but you know what I mean? It was still, Pac-Man was still cool, right? You can still find really Pac-Man cabinets and Ms. Pac-Man cabinets.
Didn't it get like a Hanna-Barbera cartoon in the 80s or something like that?
Oh, yeah. I remember this. I do remember this airing on USA, I think.
USA, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. I am old enough barely to remember this, and it was really stupid because Hanna-Barbera. I mean, and Pac-Man had a hat for some reason.
He did have a hat. Yeah, he did. That's right. I think he was a family man too. Maybe that's why he had the hat.
Oh, Pac-Man fucks. No, absolutely. For sure.
With what? I don't know.
Does Pac-Man have a dick?
I've never once thought about this before. I'm not sure.
Think about it now.
I'm gonna say no.
But then how? Okay, forget it. Never mind. I don't want to think about this anymore. The art and sound design for 1980 is incredible. Go look at any other game from 1980 and compare it to Pac-Man. Pac-Man is so, you would think it was made 5 years after those games.
Yeah.
It's crazy. On our Taito Egret 2 mini extravaganza, we were talking about Lupin the Third, and that was
Oh
made in
god.
1980.
Yes,
That
it
is
was.
so primitive compared to Pac-Man. They may as well be
Yeah.
from 1970.
Yeah, Lupin the Third has a sort of like almost borderline sort of Atari like sentiment to it. It's like the characters move in sort of like a steppy step sort of fashion, but this
It's
is very
practically
smooth.
an LCD game.
Yes, Tiger Electronics, but no, this is very smooth, right? Like Pac-Man in general feels fluid to play.
Yeah. One thing that really, before we move on from the bastion that is Pac-Man, one more thing I wanted to say was that when I was a kid, they were not power pellets. They were called energizers because that's what the side of the cabinet said. And it wasn't ghosts. I think it was also monsters. But to me,
Yep.
I called them energizers for years because that's what it said. I don't know where power pellets came into play.
See, I don't really know either. I don't know if that's just a regional thing, but I mean, over time, like have almost always said power pellets, but I couldn't possibly tell you where I'd gleaned that from.
I think maybe the cartoon says power pellets.
Oh, you think that really
Maybe
set it off?
look,
don't
I
know.
haven't seen it since I was like 3 years old, right? Seriously, but like I feel like that's where it came from. And then forevermore they were power pellets.
One of your very first childhood memories was, man, I want power pellets too.
Yes, I want energizers too. Yeah, so I don't know. I always to my brain they were always energizers, but whatever. All right. I hate to get weird this quickly, but it's time then to talk about Super Pac-Man. I'm sorry, but we have to talk about Super Pac-Man.
I mean, it's technically the most direct sequel if you don't count Ms. Pac-Man, which I guess is technically a midway joint, right? But
And then there's Junior Pac-Man, which nobody remembers.
oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, Junior Pac-Man.
I played an arcade growing up that I didn't go to very often, but it was a big arcade. In the back, they had a bunch of quote-unquote classic games. This would be the late 80s, very early 90s, so these games couldn't be more than, 7 to 10 years old, but whatever. And there was a Junior Pac-Man in that room, and I played it a lot because that was the only time I had ever seen a cabinet. That was the only time I ever saw one since.
the moment you were done with it was just carted off.
Well, I don't think I ever really went back to that arcade. It was on some sort of like Boys and Girls Club field trip or something like that, where we went to like a water park that had like an arcade or something. I don't remember, but it was like someplace I didn't usually go to. I saw a Junior Pac-Man there. Anyway, Super Pac-Man, man. Super Pac-Man, man.
Yo, dog, I heard you like keys.
You like keys? Super Pac-Man has keys. So
I thought you were going to say it's the game for you.
so unlike Pac-Man, where, it's very simple. Here's some dots, here's a ghost, eat them all. You have, I dare anybody to play Super Pac-Man for the first time and know what to do. You won't even know where Pac-Man spawns on the thing because the screen is full of apples and keys.
It's visual overload. It's so overloaded.
And then like, Pac-Man spawns in the middle there, but it's just like, oh, wait, where? Oh, there I am. Like, did you have that experience too? Because, like, there's so much stuff on the screen.
Yeah. Also, I didn't really know what the objective was for a long time.
I didn't figure out how to play Super Pac-Man until Vita, because all 5 Namco museums via PS1 Classics came out on PSP, and of course I downloaded them on Vita.
Yeah, me too.
And I even made a little page on Vita where it had all five of them there. I think that was the only swipe page on Vita that had anything. But until I played, I don't know, Namco Museum Volume 2, I forget what it's on. That's when I really sat down and learned how to play it, because I think it was on Namco Museum Wii. I didn't figure out where the fuck. Like,
yeah, I think that was the first time I had any like prolonged exposure to it, and I had no idea what I was doing back on the Wii on Namco Museum Remix, I believe it was. But So it took about a decade to finally learn how to play this game, for better or worse.
How do you play it, Vin?
You get keys, dog, and then you get them keys, and then that opens up the doors, and that lets you get things behind the doors. I don't know who put these things behind the doors. I haven't thought about it until this pod.
There's lots of things behind those doors. Apples, as I said, bananas, fried eggs, donuts.
I forgot about the fried eggs.
Yeah, what else is there? There's a lot of objects. Shoes, I think.
I think so too. But the most important of all is that there's 2 power-ups, which is very confusing.
And they both look like a quote-unquote power pellet. By the way, the cabinet art, before we talk about that, the cabinet art that they show for Super Pac-Man here, it also does not say power pellets. It says energy dots and super energy dots. So it
Makes
also
sense.
does not say power. They also don't refer to them as ghosts. I think they're still monsters.
Well, I'm gonna go by my own terminology so I don't bamboozle myself on this pod. But you can get some super size me pellets that like doubles his like size. He turns huge. He's like some freaking kaiju Pac-Man, man. He just like plows through everything. And in this state, you can plow through doors without needing to get keys, dog. So I'm like, okay, I guess that's kind of cool. But then there's like the regular basic power pellets. So like you can combine these two, plow through doors, gobble ghosts. What's going on, man?
But you can't gobble the ghost until you get a regular energy pellet. Even if you're huge Pac-Man, I guess Super Pac-Man, the titular Super Pac-Man, you still can't eat the ghost. They'll become like flattened and scared, and then you can't do anything.
It's very confusing.
Which is like not it's the game's mechanics are not telegraphed at all, which for an arcade game, that's really bad. Notice that we haven't said anything about eating dots because there aren't any.
There's no dots, but I mean, look, if you really like to like juggle power-ups, I guess there's something in this game for you, right? But aside from that,
I actually do like this game. I'm not trying to dunk on it too much. It's just that like it took us until home ports many, many years later to figure out how to play it, right? So we'd have no chance in the arcade. We'd put it in a court. It's like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, right?
I'm big. Oh, what? I'm getting keys, I guess. But
the presentation in this game feels really off. Like Super Pac-Man's from 1982. I feel like it might be the very cocaine-y part of the early 80s because like the game is a cocaine hangover. Like it's weird. Even the skits, like the sketches in between shit don't make any sense.
Oh,
like there's that one where like Pac-Man goes off screen, he's being chased by the ghost, and then he flies over their head. It's like Super Pac-Man, the big sprite, but then they just stand there. It's like, well, that didn't make any sense.
Yeah, I rember that one. I don't think the
music is weird too.
It's such a bizarre game. Yeah, like the maze feels weirdly sparse without dots.
Yeah,
it's just I don't know. The flow is weird, man. It's like.
But they can't I was going to say you could just still put them there to fill up space, but you can't put them there because then we would presume we have to eat all the dots. But no, we have to eat all the doodads behind the doors because, yo, dog, I heard you like keys.
I heard you like keys. And by the way, I'm just referring to them as doors for simplicity. They're just random ass like pink lines on them.
They're like weird barriers.
Yeah, so
also about the presentation is that like they make the waka waka sound when you eat whatever objects are behind the doors, but it doesn't really fit eating because like, okay, let's say you eat one of the apples, the waka waka will continue after you're done like well past the apple.
It's not tight.
It's not very tight. Yeah, I feel it's weirdly sloppy for some reason.
Well, the whole Waka Waka is consistent throughout all of the original, and so like this game is anything but consistent, right? It's just stuff happening. Which I mean is fine. Again, if you like to juggle power-ups, whatever, right? Power to you. But, you know, I like to play it when I feel like entering a fever dream, but
okay. Speaking of fever dreams, we need to talk about one more really bizarre Pac-Man game from the time, and that is the aforementioned Pac and Pow.
Yeah, man, Pac and Pow. Where do we start?
I just don't know. Like Super Pac-Man was so basically you could say it's a sequel to Super Pac-Man, right? It's furthering its ideas, but
yeah, it is. But the question I have is, Why did they decide to do this?
Look, I don't know how well or not well Super Pac-Man did at the time. I never really researched it. I'm sure it didn't do as well as the original. I'm sure it got a lot of play just because it's Pac-Man and it was such a phenomenon. It's the world's first video game popular character, right? So
yeah.
I'm sure it did fine. But to really follow that up is weird.
Maybe they didn't want to be compared to their prior success, so they just threw stuff at the wall, which is kind of what this game feels like.
Yeah, so it's basically the same as Super Pac-Man, but instead of Yo Dog, I heard you like keys, there's cards. There's like playing cards face down on the maze. Again, no dots, but there's a few playing cards strewn about. You get a playing card, you flip it over, and it has like an icon on it. An apple, a Galaxian, a key, haha. And then that will open up that gate to wherever that thing is on the map. I don't know if this is randomized or if there's any pattern between levels, I couldn't tell. Is it randomized?
I would assume it's set, but it's so arbitrarily looks so arbitrary that it might as well be to us without having played this for 1400 runs or whatever. But I don't think it's randomized, but there's no logic to this, right? That's why we feel that way.
Look, if we sound confused trying to explain this, imagine actually trying to play it. It is a weird bastardized version of a maze game where I don't know, it feels like they were afraid we'd get bored of their own concept. It's like they didn't have any confidence in it.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it, right?
But that's where the PAL in Pac and Pal comes in.
Yeah, but this PAL's not much of a PAL in general because all they do is jack your shit, right? So why is the titular PAL such a jackass?
There is a PAL supposedly who goes around the map, and when you open these gates to get an item, they can get in there first and take it. And they will take it back. If they take it back to the ghost hideout or whatever, then you can't get it anymore.
That's another thing. Why are they going to the ghost hideout? That's more like Pac and Backstabber, if you ask me.
You can. Why would you say that about their name is Pal? Okay, how dare you?
They're not a pal if they're jacking my shit.
But Pac-Man himself can go into the ghost hideout, which is weird. That feels sacrilege somehow. Because I went in there with the Galaxian power up and beamed them all to death.
Yeah, so that was the other thing I was gonna say. You want to talk weird? Why in the world do we have random Namco callbacks, right? Because he's got the Galaxian beam. Later rounds, he's got the new Rally X sort of smoke screen looking thing, and he can stun ghosts that way.
And it makes a crazy sound if you mash it. It's hella. It's really loud.
So it's I don't know why in the world those are here. I don't quite understand that. And then I think the following round is a trumpet, which is basically the same function. But it's
I didn't even get that. I don't even think I've got that far. Also, is that the most annoying bonus round of all time? Oh, don't flip over the card with the ghost, or
But how are you supposed to know that?
You don't know that. You just munch on them until you get. I mean, what do you? I have a feeling it's over here or something. I mean, you don't know. It's random.
But it's not a bonus round. Because even Super Pac-Man has a bonus round because you're actually doing stuff against the clock. This is just completely arbitrary, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think this bonus round was play tested particularly extensively.
Super Pac-Man's presentation is rough, as we just discussed, but there's something about Pac and Pal that feels very poorly considered.
If it was considered at all, yes.
But it just feels like they just took Super Pac-Man, which is already weird, and did it on the cheap. It's it's cheaper than Super Pac-Man.
That's kind of messed up. I like it.
I mean, it's true though. I mean, you tell me that BGM anybody. I don't think Nobuyuki Onagi or what. I'm sorry, I forget his name. Worked on that. I'm telling you, he didn't.
We were cracking jokes that this is a monotone sort of background song, air quotes.
It's literally one tone. It's very. I don't want to say obnoxious. I don't even think it's bad, but Namco had been in the BGM business for a couple years there with like New Rally X and like some other stuff, right? And like,
Oh, when you contextualize it like that, how do you go from New Rally X to that? Oh, baby.
but even Xevious is like more of a BGM than this.
It is. Yes, well, that's kind of mean, but
I mean, it is though.
Yikes. But
why did they think it was okay to make like 2 consecutive Pac-Man games without dots to eat?
I think they were just afraid of doing the same thing, which is ironic because this game is basically doing the same thing as Super Pac-Man. So, question mark? I really honestly couldn't tell you, but
oh man.
I can safely say, I mean, I'll play Super Pac-Man for the laughs, but this game, I don't know if it's much of a game. I mean, I guess I like it, but
I don't think it's bad. Look, I don't think Super Pac-Man or Pac-Man are bad games. I just, man, the weird part of Pac-Man is weird. Oh, Jesus.
yeah.
People think like the mid-90s Pac-Man stuff is weird, and it is. This is weirder. Like, it's the ultimate, like, sophomore slumps, right? Like, they had no idea what they were going to do.
Oh, man. Yo, dog, I heard you like flipping cards. Yo, dog, I heard you like keys.
Yo, dog, I heard you like flipping over a card that has a key on it. Let's take a break. This is enough about cards and keys. We need to take a break. Let's refresh. Let's eat an Energizer pellet and refresh ourselves. We'll be right back. Okay, I believe I feel energized, Vin.
Yeah, I think I've done enough power pellets of the Super Size Me sort and the regular sort.
The documentary Super Size Me Pellets.
I wasn't expecting that. It's pretty funny.
Okay. Now we're going to talk about some games we actually like. So that's really rude, actually. I really do like those other games, but they're just so weird. However, Pac-Mania. I don't know what the general consensus is about Pac-Mania. At the time, I felt like it was just sort of an also-ran. Oh, that's cute. They're doing like a Pac-Man in this sort of isometric style or whatever. I love Pac-Mania. I always have. I think this game is great. I'm a bit of a Pac-Mania truther.
It took me a little while longer to warm up to it because at first, I think I may have seen it in like magazines or whatever way back in the day, maybe. But like the zoomed in perspective was like weird to me, man. It was like isometric and zoomed in. You can't see the whole map at once, so it kind of felt like the proverbial brick through the wall. And I was just like, wait, brick through the window. Don't throw bricks at walls. That's weird.
You won't do anything.
But honestly, after revisiting on this compilation, I think I've really warmed up to it. Things like being able to jump are like really interesting.
Yeah, I guess that's the big mechanic from this, right? Besides its new shiny look, is the jumping. How does he jump without legs though? He's still just a ball. Pac-Man's a ball, right? How does he?
Maybe he's got hidden springiness and we just can't see it in the sprite.
he's a mochi, like he's like a very like
yes.
like resilient.
Definitely a mochi.
The jumping is fun. You would think that would make the game like really piddly shit easy or something. It is not.
It does not.
Yeah, it is not easy. I don't know, man. It's like the music is pretty. The sound design in general is great. The music's great. So it's bouncy and catchy. It's that very specific, like late 80s 16-bitness to it. That's great.
It really does.
From is that the same sound font as Dragon Spirit? By the way,
I feel
Dragon Spirit is also 87.
Yeah,
Could
I feel
be.
like there's a similar instrumentation at work here. I feel like it has to be.
Yeah, yeah. The sound effects are spot on, like all that stuff. I really like the. I think both of us really like the text in this game. It is very Englishy for some reason, in a way that is not
Yeah.
typically done in Namco games.
They're typically better about it. Yeah, I mean, when you clear a stage, it says like nice clearance, and I'm like, is that what clearance means? I thought it's kind of like the sales you get. But
I don't
unless,
think it's incorrect to say that. It's just nobody talks that way. I don't think it's
Yeah,
grammatically incorrect, though.
sure, but I guess. But further English includes some of the promotional art, huh?
Oh, yeah. The flyer to Pac-Mania is the best arcade flyer of all time. It
That's
is
no
so
joke.
good. It is. We've made fun of it for how many years now?
Oh my
I think we
God.
saw it on the cabinet art, right? Of at the Namco Museum. Maybe? Where did we first see it?
I'm almost positive. Yeah, that sounds about right.
It's
And
incredible. It's among other things, it just includes a very large Pac-Man jumping over all the ghosts saying, "Yum yum, I'll eat you up."
I guess Pac-Man talks.
In English, by the way. This is a Japanese flyer, and they're just writing this stuff. It's
And
amazing. I think they were committed to English for Pac-Mania for some reason. I don't know
for
why.
some
but
reason.
yeah.
We'll never know why.
When you
but-
when you start the game, and you have your little skit to start, it says, welcome to the Pac-Man world. Let's have fun with Pac-Man. Now let's go to Blocktown."
Yeah,
Okay?
it's like we don't know where any of these places are, but I guess that's the place where he's gonna eat you up. I guess.
We're just gonna yum yum, I'll eat you up. Well, you don't have to know. Let's have fun with Pac-Man, okay?
Well, have fun with Pac-Man, but the ghosts, according to that art, are yelling "Crazy Man," like one word, "Crazy Man." It's like,
what's happening? I think the other
yeah,
one
that's
is
right. What's
saying.
happening? That's right. Yeah. It's hella dumb.
I think the second skit says, "Welcome to Pac-Man's Park. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Pac-Man Theater." Where they show their little cutscene of like, "Oh, I'm chasing two ghosts. Oh, here comes 1,400 ghosts after Pac-Man. Hoo-hoo."
One, why are there so many ghosts? Two, you don't suppose he saw the word theater and said like, "Oh, that's a fancy word for like in between round skits. Let's just use the word theater." Do you think that's what they went? I mean, maybe.
Well, think about it. They've always had like, what was it in Miss Pac-Man? They have the action clapper, right? Like the
literal movie
right,
thing.
Act
Yeah.
One.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I think they've always thought of it that way. They just didn't really have the graphics to depict it. One thing I really like about the look of this game is that it almost looks pre-rendered. Now, in 1987, we didn't have pre-rendered graphics, obviously, but you can look. It almost looks. Oh my god, how expensive would that be? It almost looks that way though, because of the way the light sources, quote unquote, hit the sprites. And they're very well animated. Like Pac-Man's animation, like munching animation, is really smooth, like oddly smooth.
It's super smooth, and there's a certain way to the way it's lit, right? It's like got this sort of plasticky kind of like highlight.
Yeah, because you have those like very bright, like, I don't know, floodlights or whatever you might want to call it, like you see on like pre-renders to make them pop. It's the same thing on these. It's weird. So it's like I don't know. I think Pac-Mania is great, but
we should send a Silicon Graphics workstation back to 87 so that they could have made Pac-Mania 2.
So it would have been the most expensive game of all time? That would have been ridiculous.
Assuming they knew how to actually use said workstation, yes.
All right. We got to talk about, I think, one of our mutual favorites here. We got to talk about Pac-Man Arrangement.
It's so good. Oh, this might go on for a while, but it's well deserved.
Little history though. I think in 1996, right? Namco got the bright idea to be like, "Hey, let's make new versions, new sequels to all our like old arcade games." There was a Pac-Man arrangement. There was a Galaga arrangement, I think. There was a Dig Dug arrangement.
Oh yeah, Dig Dug.
Those are the three I remember. I know. Is there any more?
Well, there's 6 of them because there's 3 for Volume 1 and 3 for Volume 2. So
Volume?
Yeah, they're actually like 3 packs at the arcade, so to speak. So you actually
and you pick one. Okay, right.
Yeah, but all 6 of these are super cool in their own right. Not all of them have been re-released since release, unfortunately. But so this is the one I was very, very hype about because this is the very first time that this has been re-released in a like I don't even know since maybe Namco Museum on like Cube and PS2 maybe.
Yeah, that's the last time I remember playing them. I mean, I played them
Yeah.
at the arcade too, but like, yeah, at home, that was the first time I remember. This is great. It is how do I say it? I don't know. When you're a company for this long and you've had such a hit as Pac-Man, and then it's like you come back to the drawing board, like, what can I do with it? This is so cool, and it's very of its time too. It feels like a game from 1996. It is lockstep in time. Like the type of gameplay may be old or outdated, but not the presentation. It's certainly not the music either.
Certainly not the music. There's a certain sort of like visual flair that's really of the time. But the most remarkable thing about it to me is that it's not distracting or it's not like overbearing, right? It's a very vibrant sort of execution that really fits Pac-Man. These dots like undulate. They like actually do waveforms.
They do wave. Yeah, they literally like do waves. I like the one where they do like little sort of an exploding pattern, sort of diagonal wave across the thing. Like all the dots on the screen are working in tandem with each other to make this sort of, like you said, undulating pattern. It's incredible to look at.
It looks really nice, and it still is easy to read. It's not like you always can like see the state of the game like very clearly. It's not like difficult to read, and there's just a certain briskness to this game, right? So when you get one of those power energizer pellets, when you gobble a ghost, you don't stop like you did in prior games. Like you're plowing right through. So there's a certain sort of like briskness to it, and it's really empowering that way.
That is one of the best things about it. The it's pretty frictionless, right? It's a very consistent gameplay because, like you said, you eat the ghost, so you don't stop or whatever and see the point value. You just keep going, and then if you die, the ghosts don't like go back to the hideout and the board resets or something. You just keep playing, which is great.
Yeah, it feels like very of the time that way. You're not like resetting the board when you die, right? And speaking of being like of the time, this game actually has a 2-player simultaneous mode as well.
Man.
Oh baby.
So as of this recording, it would be last weekend. We were hanging out and also with a friend of ours as well. And like I was saying, I feel like Pac-Man Arrangement has a 2-player, and you were like, no, it doesn't. I'm like, look, I'm pretty sure it does. I don't know why. Let's go look. And then the very first thing it shows in the attract screen is like a yellow Pac-Man and a green Pac-Man fucking up everything. And I'm like, haha, bitch, I told you. But like, I don't know. Yeah. So then we tried it amongst us. Yo, this is crazy. You're much more for like multiplayer shenanigans than me, but like this is wild. This is like the ultimate way to play this game.
It's so empowering because I feel like the opposition isn't really rebalanced for 2 players. So you're just blowing everything up. You got double the coverage. So those pack dots are gone, man.
It's like so busted. It's hella busted.
Yeah, it's super good. It's a lot of fun.
Busted.
Yeah, we had a really fun run. We had some fun runs, man. It was
Hey, do you like the decade known as the 1990s? Because this music, man, I tell you what, Pac-Man Arrangement brings it. It hits that excellent 90s chill like I always talk about. Another game this compilation does, we'll talk about later, but it is perfect. It's like that sort of light jazzy house music. It's perfect. Oh, can we talk about the motifs? Like, because you started out in like sort of a block town sort of thing, but very quickly you get to the classic sort of Pac-Man maze.
It's interesting that
the way they do that is great.
It's I was just gonna say it's super interesting how the classic maze is like round 3 or like whatever. Like that kind of is like a little subversion of stuff, right? That's kind of interesting. And I think later rounds have like forests and stuff like that too. It's like a really colorful
hedge
game.
maze.
Hedge maze.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
Forest. There's all sorts of stuff. There was like some sort of like lava with like steel girders or something. I think there was like a Egyptian thing. I think you guys got to.
I think it was like a Mayan inspired maze, maybe just like it might have been Egyptian. Yeah, I think Egyptian. You're right.
Yeah, some Egyptian shit.
Yeah.
there's some really weird ghost shenanigans. Like one ghost can like hop on top of another ghost and then become like a super ghost. One time one had horns. It was like Satan ghost. It was weird.
Yeah,
there was a rabbit, I think.
Yeah, they literally charge you. Like when this giant red hulking ghost just like does a freaking charge dash at you. I'm like, oh my god, Jesus Christ!
It's pretty wild.
Yeah.
Again, though, about the music, that round clear jingle. Oh baby, that's an all timer. That's in the record books.
It's still chill too. It actually seems chill.
Yeah, it's great. This is one of those premium arcade experiences I talk about where it's just like, this is the reason why you go, right? Because like this is something you could never get at home. You could never get it on what was out in 96, a PS1. I mean, like, yeah, I guess you could port it to PS1, but you wouldn't really do that. You sure as hell couldn't do it on a Super Nintendo. Maybe if you tried really hard.
You would have to compromise stuff to make it fit on a cartridge, I think.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, it'd be Slow Down City. It'd be like, oh, with those dots. Forget about it.
Undulating dots on a Super Nintendo. Holy shit! Oh no!
And
Jesus Christ!
You could maybe do it on Genesis, but it would look like shit. The color depth would be fucking ass, right?
Do you like a 90s chill embodied in twang instruments?
Oh no, the music would get. Oh no, I didn't even think about that. Oh, let's not think about that anymore.
We can leave that where it was. Yeah, yeah. One more thing I want to get in before we move on is that there's some really crazy power-ups too, as well as stage sort of tricks. So like there's like dash panels that you can like take that make you like speed along the maze. And there's also one of the craziest items that we picked up was like the staff that like turned the ghosts into like presents. That was like, whoa, these are pretty rare, so they don't break the game or anything. But it was like
we were trying to think if the staff is like from another Namco game, because everything's a reference with those guys, right? If it was like some sort of like Tower Jiraga weapon or something, but they wouldn't turn into presents, right? They saw presents, and I'm like, toy pop, but I'm like, I don't think that has like a cane. Maybe it does, but I have no idea. Pac-Man Arrangement Arcade is excellent. Pac-Man Arrangement PSP.
Oh, baby Jesus. Oh, God.
So I had never played this before, right? My only inroad to this was this guy over here who had it on PSP saying, I don't know if you said it was cool, but you talked it up in a way that you made it sound like it was. Because you were like, what? Go ahead.
So the question I have is that I don't remember ever talking this up, so I don't know which specific statement caused that connotation, but I'm really curious what caused this sort of thought.
You made me believe it was worth playing, and it is not worth playing.
I've never really liked it that much, man. So not like I'm like staring at the show notes, and I'm like, did I ever say this?
I got the impression that it was good at the very least.
Okay, I'll put it to you this way. It is something to look at on a PSP screen, because when you upscale that sort of low poly 3D jank on here to 1080p, oh baby Jesus.
Well, here's the thing. The upscaling on these graphics on this PSP version are so sharp, it almost makes me think it could have possibly been redone. Are these really the PSP graphics?
I'm pretty sure it's the same like thing. So I mean, maybe they had the source and set up in such a way so that they could upscale it like cleanly, right? But then again, these games, this is actually originally from I think 2005, so it's pretty fascinating in terms of being a time capsule. But as a game, God.
It has a tacky and weird feel to it. Not like the same sort of cocaine hangover tacky as like Pac and Pal or something, but that actually does have charm to it. As much shit as you talked about it because it's funny. Pac-Man Arrangement has none. The font choice here feels so generic. It almost makes me too. It feels like a fan project.
Yeah.
And also, I don't know why it's called Pac-Man Arrangement. It has nothing really to do with the previous arcade game we just talked about.
Nope.
None, right?
Yeah, well, that's the trick, right? Because this particular PSP game was re-released, I think, on the 360 virtual arcade disc, I think it was, that had like other Xbox Live Arcade games on it or whatever, right? But so when I saw that this game was re-released on that, I'm like, oh man, Jesus Christ. I'm like, what happened to like the 90s arrangement? But like,
Man.
you know, this kind of reminds me of? It reminds me of like a Windows 95 shareware game. Actually, that's kind of rude. I don't think they had 3D like that. Maybe probably a few years too early for that one. I think a little too early.
That might be the rudest thing you've ever said on Fine Time. Maybe. I know. I don't even think you've said anything that rude about like Frozen. We were talking Kingdom Hearts 3.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, I probably should have been more harsh on that one, but no, seriously though, this game is just. I don't know if I want to call it cursed, but man, it's just like so sparse. It's kind of slow and plotting. It doesn't really have the heart of its predecessors, and like all the stage obstacles are super gimmicky. There's like lifts that can like lift them to different elevations and stuff. It's just all the stuff feels very sort of like it impedes your fun. Right? I
don't know.
It's hard to look at.
I have no idea why this is here on this compilation or why anybody would want to play it when the real Pac-Man arrangement exists. I guess it's good. Well, it is. I guess it's good for like completion's sake, I guess, but like I don't think this is worth a shit, honestly.
I mean, this wouldn't be the only title included on here for completionism's sake.
Oh my god. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So but, you want to go there?
Oh God, please do.
No, I want you to help me dive into this because I hate this.
Oh God. Game. Okay, fine. I'll take it. Moving on to another potentially, i.e., actually cursed game is Pac-Land, your favorite.
That's it. You're just gonna throw it to me now. I have to talk about this game, or fine. Jesus Christ. This wretched game, this putrid fucking game.
Putrid!
Disgusting. This game is cursed. It's some of the most cursed art I've ever seen, like an arcade game of its time.
So I guess
the music is really annoying.
I guess the real question is, why exactly is this like a pseudo platformer through town where Pac-Man is trying to like reach the end of town so he can get a boon from a fairy so that he can retraverse the same thing he just traversed? What's happening here?
Well, I'm glad you can jump over a stupid pool with a springboard because I can't do that.
Dude, I hella wiped on stream like 4 times in a row or whatever because like I didn't know how to control it.
Fuck like this game.
Unbeknownst to me, you're supposed to mash right in midair to like delay your descent, as opposed every other platforming game you hold A or whatever, or you hold the jump button so that you stay in the air longer.
How the fuck am I supposed to know that?
I don't know. You're supposed to mash because it's Pac-Land.
I fucking hate this game. This game blows. This is the only game on here I would actually. This is the worst game on here, right? At least from Pac-Man arrangement PSP, I could say like.
I wouldn't say it's the worst one because we have one coming up, but it's pretty. It's down there. Maybe second to worst, but it's not the worst.
I don't know.
But okay, I'll add one more thing before we move on to that game. But basically, everyone made a pretty big stink about Ms. Pac-Man being replaced by Pac-Mom because the alleged licensing shenanigans preventing Ms. Pac-Man from being re-released on other things or like whatever. So like, I guess from like a historical perspective, it's kind of like funky, and like if those super young kids want to figure out where the Pac-Land stage comes from in Smash, I guess there's that, I guess. But I
was so fucking mad when I found out I was like, Pac-Land, Sakurai, of all the things you could have picked, Pac-Land, the most cursed game ever.
Yeah, that stage is not the most fun either. I don't really like that.
I like it just fine. I hate looking at it.
You like the stage, but you don't like looking at it.
I actually don't like the stage. I just like playing Metrocross Retro Medley. The only reason why I like it.
Metrocross were actually included in the game.
I mean, that'd be way better.
Oh my god!
I'm sorry that segment was a mess. No, I'm not, because Pac-Land is a mess. So let's just move on.
The game that I actually think is the worst is Pac in Time, which I hadn't really known existed prior to this compilation. It's a pretty deep dig, but man, this is a weird one. If you want to talk like acid fueled, oh baby,
I I'm at a loss for words here. I really don't know what to say about Pack in Time. I guess we could just start at the beginning where it's like it uses the Japanese ROM for some reason with like overlays of like English from like the UI itself.
Yeah, it's maybe
So
that's
the
just what they
UI you
had.
have some like 720p like text over it. I don't know. It's weird. But why did they do that?
I don't think the use of an overlay is inherently like that problematic so much as it probably means they just didn't want to fiddle with the ROM that much. Maybe they thought the Japanese like
Fiddle
ROM
with
had
the
more
ROM.
stuff.
There's an English ROM.
I mean, I don't know if the English ROM has any edits to like that because there's a pretty long like intro sequence. There's actually a lot of exposition to this game, so maybe they wanted to just like keep it quote unquote like as it was, maybe, but I don't know very much about this game. But I guess the premise is that like someone curses Pac-Man and sends him back in time, which makes him de-age for some reason. But the weird part is that this isn't even really a Pac-Man game, right?
Yeah, it's so I did a little research and I feel like I knew this before, but apparently it's a rebranded version of a game called, I can't believe I'm about to say this, Fury of the Furries. It's a 1993 platformer for Amiga. And I saw the word Amiga and my brain automatically goes, "Oh no."
You can tell it's an Amiga game just from how it controls.
I like the sassy look Pac-Man give if you're like idle. He just stares directly at the quote unquote camera. He just has that sassy smile on. Anyway, yeah, you can tell it's an Amiga game, but forget about that. You can tell it's a European ass roam around until you find stuff game that was so popular in the 90s, whether it was James Pond. There was a game on Super Nintendo Entertainment System, Nintendo Switch Online recently that also played like this. Not Claymates. Well, Claymates actually isn't too far off. I think Jelly Boy or whatever it's called.
Yes.
That type of European platformer, I can't stand. Therefore, I don't really like Pac in Time. You think this is worse than Pac-Land? Though I'd much rather play this than Pac-Land.
See, the thing is that like this controls kind of better, right? But in terms of like stage progression, like at least like that's like on a linear track. I don't know what's going on here, man. It's like there's like spikes, there's like random, I don't know, man. It's they're both messy.
They're very messy. I don't think this is the worst. I could actually, at some point, if I get like really bored, I could see myself trying to actually play through Pac in Time. I will never want to play Pac-Land again. Ever.
Ever, he says. Until Pac-Man Museum plus.
What? And then what?
You'll play it again.
What are you doing?
But yeah, Pack in Time. I think in theory, like I like the sprite work of this game, but it's just, man, aside from that, it's just. Ugh.
Do you like how the swinging rope thing is like? It's trying to be like Worms, but not really. Like you're trying to like swing up to the next platform, but it's so fucking messy. It's like by the way, I'm glad you also like sat there and waited to like ran into stuff to die so you could get your 2 like playthrough. Cause like the game reward, like the Pac-Man Museum Plus rewards you for like, oh, you played this game 2 times or something like that, but you actually have to see the game over screen. So like I just bumped into stuff like so I could go through 2 quote unquote plays of Pac in Time.
Yeah, you have to unlock games via playing games, but it's just like you have like 3 lives or whatever. So I was like sitting in spikes for like 3 lives straight, and then I did it again.
I didn't give up that. My first play, I actually did try to play. It was a legit attempt. I got bored through halfway through the second one. Let's break a little bit early because I want to give a wide berth to one of our favorite games of all time coming up next. Okay, the time has come. We are energized again with the Energizers / Power Pellets / what were they called in Super Pac-Man?
Super Size Me Pellets?
Super Size Me Pellets?
That's a term I made up.
I think we saw those at 7-Eleven last week when we were getting a soda.
I wish.
Whoa, what? All right.
Waka waka, motherfucker.
Waka waka, bitches. We're here to talk about something very near and dear to our hearts. And I was not joking. One of our favorite games of all time, Pac-Man Championship Edition.
He's not joking. It really is one of our favorite games of all time.
Buckle up, folks. We're going to be here for a while. Best throwback / retro revival of all time, YN?
Yes. It's mine.
I mean, Sonic Mania might be the only thing I might say fits in this category that I would...
It's close. It's close. But it doesn't
about it.
Yeah.
It's definitely the Sonic Mania of Pac-Man, that's for sure.
Oh, baby.
So, let's set the stage a little bit, huh? So, like, 2007, right? The indie market was, like, burgeoning, right? It wasn't really much of a thing yet, but it was happening. And, like, you know, artsy-fartsy small game market before all the, you know, the pixel nostalgia disease took over, right? but the big publishers were kind of trying to see how they fit into this space, or if they could. Namco was really early on this. Because you remember, this is the first Pac-Man Championship Edition was like the first sort of dip their toe into this water. Because after this, they did like the Generations games, right? And like,
yeah. That's right.
So Toru Iwatani, the creator of Pac-Man, they got him back to make Pac-Man Championship Edition. It is his last game, or at least he said it was his last game when he made it, and that has held true. He has not made a game since.
Yes, that is correct.
And boy, howdy, what a magnum opus to go out on. Jesus Christ.
It really is. Yeah. It fit the this is back on Xbox Live Arcade on Xbox 360, and it really fit that sort of space so well, right? That downloadable game space. It was like perfect for that. And like, and I remember like you got an Xbox 360 before I did, so I didn't really get to play this right when it came out. So I was kind of listening to you play it, and I was like, "Whoa, this even just the soundscape sounds like ridiculous, man. This sounds so like different from like its predecessors,
but yet recognizable, right? There's no mistaking what I'm playing."
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. It was so cool.
Ultimately, if you don't know, Pac-Man Championship Edition is timed score play, or score attacking, if you want to use that term. Mm-hmm. Either 5 minutes or 10 minutes, depending on the mode you pick. The regular championship mode is 5 minutes, and you have 5 minutes to score as many points in Pac-Man as you can. It is the ultimate score play game. It is so beautifully designed. It is the best score play of all time, basically. So, like, the maze works in two halves, where you have dots on either side. You eat all the dots, a fruit will spawn. You eat that fruit, more dots will appear. So, and it actually keeps track on the bottom of the screen which fruits you've eaten on which side. You know what I mean? Just like in Pac-Man, you start with cherry, you go to strawberry, orange, whatever, right? It progresses bell, right? Galaxia.
Yeah.
Those things progress, but you can advance either side of the board as much as you want. You don't have to keep them. You could advance them symmetrically or asymmetrically. In fact, I don't think we've ever really talked about this. How do you play? Do you just whatever, or do you try to keep them symmetrical?
I try to keep them symmetrical for the most part. I believe there are certain cases where I'll try to like farm fruit on like one side, and that's the beauty of it, right? Because the score play revolves around like eating dots or eating ghosts or eating fruit, but it's like magnified, right? So it's like you have so much like player agency like at any given time that it's like super fascinating.
Yeah, because you can make so many decisions. The dots are in Pac-Man they're worth 10 points each, and they're still worth 10 points each in Pac-Man Championship Edition until you play for a while, and then they're worth 20. and then they're worth 30, and they're worth 40 to a max of 50 points a dot. But if you die, it goes back down to 10 points a dot. So imagine you're playing like regular like 1980 Pac-Man and dots are worth 50 points each. You're going to try to do everything you can to keep that going, right? Like, so basically there's lots of questions that come into play. Do I just plow through the energizers, LOL, and just keep my dot score going? Or do I try to go for the ghosts, but that's riskier because I could die? Or do I go for, should I forget about advancing the fruit as much as I can to keep that going? Because that's also risky, right? There's so many risk reward things happening at the exact same time in this game. It's incredible. The decisions you have to make on the fly at any given moment are numerous, and they're nonstop from the beginning of the game till the timer ends. That 5 or 10 minute timer. It's every word in the book. It's exhilarating. It's incredible. It's involving. It's masterful. It is one of my favorite games of all time.
Yeah, the risk and reward mechanics feel very intentfully designed, right? So like that's one of the most interesting parts to me, which a lot of other sort of like throwback games don't necessarily like get down, because this is like its predecessors but evolved, right?
Yeah.
So like it still has the same sort of maze progression, but the additions to the overall flow feel meaningful and substantial. They don't feel like, none of this feels gimmicky.
No. Unlike its sequels, which are Gimmick City, which is, but like the original Pac-Man Championship Edition, gimmick free, although it is not pizzazz free. Like the audio visual element of this game is very key. So you start the neon maze realized, right? And this is I always make fun of other people for saying this, but in 2007 it's warranted. It's the first Pac-Man game in HD, right? So you have this very nice widescreen presentation that you've never had for Pac-Man before. You have these very bright colors, and it's cool because the music ramps up in intensity as you play. So like think about you're outside of a club, right? Some techno club, and you just hear that bass pulse because you're not inside it. You just hear that boom, 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 right? Yep. You're outside the club. Then you open the doors and you're assaulted with music, right? That doesn't happen in Pac-Man Championship Edition. It just very slowly ramps up there. So you start out, you're eating dots, boom, boom, boom. You hear that bass beat. And then as you play over that 5 or 10 minutes, the music will swell and grow and grow. By the time you get down to those last 30 seconds, baby.
It's really high octane. Yeah. It really intensifies things, and it really makes you feel those last like 30 seconds as you struggle not to like die. And another thing is that in general speaking, this game plays faster than like prior Pac-Man titles. But so in some regards, it's a little tough in that respect. But it's fair though, because they actually give you a lot of lives to sort of like compensate for that, right? So like you can die back-to-back times and you'll still keep your run going. In fact, when I was like listening in way back in the day, I'm like, yo, are you like dying like over and over again? Like what's going on? I'm
telling you, it's just how it goes. It sounds scrubby though if you just hear it.
Yeah, without context, I'm like, what's going on here? But the danger is omnipresent though, because one, you really feel it when you when you die, because I mean your dot score gets reset, right? And then secondly, you can't like just like assume that you have plenty of lives, because they can get burned through very quickly.
You can gain a lot just like any other Pac-Man by getting 30k or something. I don't know. Every so often you get an extra life, and it seems like a lot of lives, but you'll need them because baby. Especially if you're doing one of the 10-minute ones, forget about it.
Yeah, we're still game overing on some of these 10-minute ones, and we play the game a pretty good amount.
There's lots of variations though. So there's like the regular championship mode, but I think one of my favorites, I think it is Extra Mode 1, where it's like these very long straightaways. It's another 5-minute one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that one because you can really ramp up those dot scores. That's what I really get off on in this game, is getting those 50 points for the
Yeah.
dots. And this mode really allows you to do that very well.
Yeah, it lets you do it, especially since like typically on the left and right sides of Pac-Man mazes, there's like a wraparound warp, as it were, right? But this has got like 7 per side, so like you have a lot of like movement possibilities, right?
And you better make sure there's not some errant like Sue or something hanging out on the other side of, like, you know what I mean? That's never happened to me before.
Right, yeah.
No, man. Pac-Man Championship Edition, the master does his work, man. You can tell like a person who has really mastered their craft worked on this in Toru Iwatani. I'm so glad they got him back to do this one last thing for them, because I always keep putting this game in the category of like a retro revival or whatever, and I guess it is, but honestly, just for any game, it's one of my favorite games of all time.
I've still replaying this game like a lot even now, and like I'm just eternally thankful that now it's on a platform that we can easily access, because this wasn't really available on like PS4 or whatever, right? So like for a while
we had to make do with those shitty ass sequels. So
right, yeah. So like I'm just very thankful that it's here.
Me too. All right. Moving, I'm glad we finally got to talk about this beautiful game. But moving on from that, another game I think both of us really like is Pack Attack.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's also really weird, but it's pretty cool.
I don't think it's that weird when you think about 1994. We were still doing falling block puzzle games out of everything. It makes perfect sense, really.
It does. Oh, that genre.
If you never played it, it's like I said, it's like a Tetris type of falling blocks game, but like you're not just making lines of blocks, there's ghosts, right? And then sometimes a Pac-Man is there too, so you could like munch the ghosts out of your way so you can make more lines. It's pretty simple.
It is pretty simple.
I remember a friend had it back in the day. I used to play it at his house, and I didn't think a whole lot of it back in the day. It was just kind of like, okay, it's your, there were puzzle games like that back then were a dime a dozen. So I didn't really think too much about it.
Yeah.
Divorced from the time period though, now I really kind of enjoy this game a lot, especially what is it called? The puzzle mode? You only have a certain amount of moves, certain amount of Pac-Mans to eat all the ghosts.
Yeah, you have to be very careful, right? Because if you haphazardly place your pieces in this mode, it's very difficult to fulfill the objective of like eating all the ghosts, because you might have some random ass ghosts in the corners. It's like, how are you supposed to have Pac-Man eat these ghosts if the ghosts are out of the way, right? So you kind of have to think a step or two ahead when you place your stuff down, and yeah, it's a little tricky at first, but eventually you just kind of get into a groove with this game.
Yeah, I really like this game. You can kind of, I feel like sometimes I can get fucked up real quick. Yeah. Or have a pretty good run, like the line between those is pretty thin. But
it is
much like what we said about Pac-Man arrangements music applies to Pack Attack. Yo, you like the 90s, bitch? Because
it's so chill.
It's so chill. Before we loaded the game, I was like, I wonder if they use the SNES or Genesis version. We loaded up and it's like, oh, that's the SNES, baby.
Wonder how you can tell.
Oh, it's very easy to tell from that soundscape.
Yeah.
I'm glad they did.
I'm glad they did too. And when you're playing the game, there's a very like laid back version of like the familiar sort of like Pac-Man song.
It's hella jazzy. It's great. I love it. It's great stuff.
Yeah. It's cool. It's super cool. There's a bizarre sort of like graffiti inspired aesthetic though. That's the part I don't really get about it. But
yeah. Well, I mean, what's to get? The 90s. We did graffiti on everything because it's cool, man. I like the initial one where it's like Pac-Man doing his like sort of classic happy face pose, and he's like, it says exciting on top.
Exciting,
of it.
Yes. I mean, you should be excited when you're playing this, right?
Yeah. I don't know if Pac-Man Museum is coming out in Japan or whatever, but like this might be the first time we played Pack Attack, because I don't know how many people know this. Pack Attack is a copy version of Cosmo Gang the puzzle.
Yep.
Right? Mm-hmm. Which you've actually played at the arcade. We didn't play it this year, but we played it last year when we visited. Yeah. But what I remember when you were playing it at the arcade is we were doing something else and I just came and found you and you were playing. I was like, dude, this is Pack Attack. Like,
Yeah.
and you're like, what do you mean? I'm like, I'll show you.
And it's like, surprise,
Surprise,
Pac Attack is
bitch.
a reskin version. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
apparently Cosmo Gang the puzzle, there was a SNES version. They threw it in the Pack Attack, and honestly, I like this motif better. It's great, especially considering the music and everything. It just fits more in that motif. It makes a lot more sense.
I think that's the thing, right? It actually makes intuitive sense to like place Ghost down, and then he plays a Pac-Man piece down, and then he just kind of like gobbles he like goes down and like gobbles everything, right? So I mean, that is pretty cool.
So, all right. We have some other stuff on here, which I don't think is worth a whole lot of a shit, but you like some of the stuff more than me, so you take the reins here.
Yeah, so speaking of completionism, they included Pac Motos on this compilation. Motos is an 85 arcade game, which basically entails bumping everything off of the map, off of the edge of the platforms on each stage.
It's as simple as it sounds.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
If that doesn't sound fun, it's not.
That is because this is exactly Motos with a Pac-Man skin.
Oh, whoop-de-fucking-do.
Yeah, so I guess contextually, this is sort of a pseudo sequel, I guess. To further convolute things, I guess it takes some sort of level cues from like Motos arrangement, which we didn't get over here. But of course, the goal is to bump these other robot-y things off. I don't even know what they are, right? You can collect power-ups that will boost your ability to do so. But all in all, like really, this is a very sort of aesthetic sort of reskin, right? And it doesn't really feel as intuitive as like say Pac Attack. It's just kind of like it's just Motos. It's like, so if you don't like Motos, there's not a whole lot here for you.
I don't like Motos, and there is not a whole lot here for me. In fact, the night before recording this, I choked down 2 of the worlds of this game, and I'm like, I was texting this guy, I'm like, I can't play this anymore. I cannot stand this. I'm done.
I got through a few more worlds. I think I got to like stage world like 3 or 4, so maybe a little further. But like the game is not very tension. Doesn't have much tension, right? So like even if you somehow lose like all of your lives, I think you could just continue exactly where you died. So like and I guess the only consequence of that is that if you're fighting a boss, which we'll get into in a bit, I guess the boss's life resets are like whatever, right? I mean, that's
is this a game that was on that Namco Museum Wii? Is this where they pulled this from?
Yeah, it's on
because
Namco
that's
Museum
one of the
remix.
Wackiest compilations of all time.
Dude, isn't the compilation like gapless for some reason?
Yes,
like,
yeah. That was the first time
weird.
that was the first time I had ever played gapless.
Me too, yeah.
Yeah, like they had, and then they had some weird, like, quote unquote, new games, but they just shoehorned Pac-Man into them, and one of them was Pac Motos. So it's like,
that's right, yeah. That's an important
fucking guess.
piece of the puzzle.
I would like to stop talking about Pac Motos.
We can. Also, I don't. One last thing though, I don't think those are actually bosses. I think
they're not bosses. They're just things that you fucking addle the red East bump into, like until they die.
Pac-Man the Red.
Pac-Man the Red bump into.
Pac-Man Christian. Maybe we should move on.
Let's never talk about this game again.
Pack and Roll Remix is the other oddball on this list, also from Namco Museum Remix, but it in itself is sort of an arrangement of
Namco Museum Remix
on Wii. Yeah.
Oh, that's what it's called. Okay.
Yeah, I believe there was a successor called Mega Mix, but I didn't have that one. But
also on Wii.
Correct.
I don't remember that at all. That must have been during the dark period.
The dark period. Yeah. Yeah. Pack and Roll was Pack and Roll Remix is based off of Pack and Roll on DS, which I forgot existed. I mean, do you remember Pack and Roll? Like, I really don't.
I do. I feel like I actually had it, but it's been too long. I feel like I bought all those, like I said at the top of the show, I bought pack picks and stuff. Like I was in for those gimmicky. I had like Yoshi Touch and Go. I had all those crappy proto cell phone games. Like
ooh, God, come on, man. That's not nice.
Okay, I'm not saying they're not fun, but it's just like, come on.
Proto cell phone games? Holy shit. Oh, that's a thing you said on the air.
They are.
Well, I don't know if this is this is like not much of a game. Pack and Roll Remix is really bizarre. It's stage based, and the goal is to collect enough pack dots to unlock doors. I guess.
It feels like something that should be controlled with tilt controls, but you don't have that, so you just sort of move the stick awkwardly.
I think there may have been some nunchuck shenanigans on Wii, but obviously those are not a thing here.
Okay,
I don't.
so it's just like you're trying to approximate that with the control stick, and it doesn't really work. It feels bad.
It feels bad. So to me, this is the epitome of frivolousness. It just sort of seems like you move around very quick and stuff happens. And there's a joke
very quick,
very quick. So is it just me, or did you get almost borderline motion sick like looking at this game?
I didn't play enough of it for that to happen. So I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna keep it real, dog. Like I was not into this. I don't even think it's necessarily like the worst. I just didn't feel like something that fucking frivolous right now.
Yeah.
So with limited time to cram this stuff in before we did this, I wasn't gonna spend any more time on Pack and Roll, especially since I already did it before.
Yeah, you could play like other games instead on this compilation that are worth your time. But I think it's worth being on here. It's a nice time capsule. The graphics are upscaled well, and but I think like Pac-Man's like a crazy voice sample when you like dash. I don't know what's up with that.
I don't know, man.
Yeah. So but it's a good sort of Wii time capsule, so to speak.
It's a good time capsule. I'm not sure if it's a good time capsule. You know what I mean?
Of course, yeah, of course. That's an important point to say there.
So there was one game on here I had never heard of before, and it's called Pac-Man Battle Royale. From the looks of it, it's an arcade game for 4 players, and I'm just one player, so I feel like I'm completely unable to evaluate this game. I guess Ven here has played this with actual people.
Yeah, so I've actually played this a decent amount, so I'll take it. Pac-Man Battle Royale is like I think it's 2015. It's often an arcade cabinet that like shows up at like barcades and stuff like that.
Yeah, it looked very like, I know it's going to sound bad, but like Redemption Machine-y, like it's very like that kind of graphics.
Yeah, it does. So like it's sort of a weird sort of Pac-Man Championship Edition asset flip in some ways, but it doesn't play exactly like that because you actually have 4 players simultaneous versus shenanigans. So the goal is that like like between like anywhere from 1 to 4 people, you like play for 5 rounds. Don't play this game by yourself. It's completely useless if you don't have a friend.
Well, guess what?
Yeah, so do not play this solo. It is really boring. You'll not understand anything about it if you do. So if you play with a friend, basically, you're each of you are Pac-Men, right? So you're trying to do the whole rigmarole. You're trying to get power pellets / energizers. But when you get one, you actually devour your friends. Like you can eat ghosts if you want to, but the goal is to take out like your friend's Pac-Men. So that's pretty interesting, right? And like, if you want to be a total douchebag, you can actually even do things like bump into their Pac-Man and they go, both of you go flying.
Yeah, you like kiss for a second, and you just go boing back and back. Yeah, it was very weird. I kept doing that to the computer, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah. So if you want to be a total douchebag, wait for your friend to be next to a ghost and bump them, and then they'll get taken out.
Oh. I didn't even think of doing that. Dickhead shit. Wow, that's really asshole-ish.
It's a valid strategy, albeit really douchey.
It's pretty asshole-ish though.
Yeah, so I've done this the arcade cabinet. It's a pretty vibrant cabinet. Actually, it's got sort of very bright colors, and I'm pretty happy it's here. I don't know if it's been ported before, but yeah, it's if you have some buddies over, give it a whirl, and you may be pleasantly surprised. Try to be the last Pac-Man standing.
One game I can actually play by myself and have a lot is masturbation. No, but also another game is Pac-Man 256. Probably easily the most recent thing on here, right? What, 2015, 16?
I believe so, yes. I think 16.
I guess it started as a mobile game, but I played it when it came to PS4.
Yeah, so and we both played it primarily on PS4.
Yeah.
And
If
it's
anyone
cool.
doesn't know, it's based off of once you get to stage 256 of Pac-Man, the game freaks out and it glitches and you can't actually beat it or whatever. The screen becomes a bunch of symbols and shit.
Mhm.
It's weird. Half the maze is eaten. So Pac-Man 256 is an entire game based around that glitch, basically. So you're just charging forward. There's like a whole glitch sea behind you eating up the maze. So you better just keep moving, right? All sorts of items and stuff glitch in as you're like moving up the it's a one life game, so one hit wonder. You die and that's it, you start over. One of those type of mobile games, so you could say it's almost like an endless runner, but it's a Pac-Man maze.
But it's really cool though because it's thematically relevant because you don't want to get consumed by the sea of glitches, right? But you're still playing essentially, tried and true Pac-Man stuff, except there's some additions.
Yeah, well, there's like weapons. Pac-Man has a gun. No, there's like, well, he may as well. There's like you can get this laser thing pretty early on where it's like a laser is just coming out of his mouth, but he's still munching on stuff. But your zapping goes with the laser.
How does one munch while shooting laser out of your mouth? That's
I like the syllable. How does one munch? I like that. How does one munch?
How does one munch while
No, I don't need the rest. Just how does one munch?
How does one munch? That is the question.
Mark. Oh, yeah.
Yes, that's the great question. I don't know how Pac-Man does it.
Yeah, you can get like a bomb, right?
Yeah, you blow up. Yeah, that's right. It's like so weird. Yeah, there's some stuff, man. But it's cool. What I really like about this game is the how the dot score play works. So like the number keeps growing, but if you break your streak, which is like if you double back around on yourself or if you don't eat a dot for a little bit, your streak breaks or whatever, right? So it's sort of
I don't even think it's a little bit. I think you have to be on it. I don't think there can be any gaps.
I think so too, yeah. You have to be like on it. So it creates these interesting sort of situations on the fly where it's like, do I break my streak to like survive if there's a ghost nearby? Do I try to like risk going around the ghost to keep my streak going? And eventually, if you're sort of crafty enough, it actually goes all the way up to the titular 256. But it's very easy to want to get too greedy, and then that will like end your run. Of course, you only have the one life.
It's tough to do, honestly. I haven't really done it in the runs that I've played so far. Of course, I've done it before on PS4. Why did I say of course? Of course I have, but of course I've done it on PS4. I've done the 256 dots. Have you?
Munch, 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 munch.
How does one munch? That is the question. I really like Pac-Man 256. Yeah, I'm glad this is here. Honestly, like I didn't even really think about it, but when I was watching that initial trailer with that announcer who's way too peppy, and then he had like Pac-Man 256, I was like, oh yeah, that's worth it.
Yes, it is.
That's all the games here. Let's wrap up real quick. Before that though, I want to say we were talking about the two Namco Classic Collection Volume 1 and Volume 2, the two arcade cabinets. Just for completionist's sake, here's what's on them. So Volume 1 has Galaga, Xevious, and Mappy. And then Volume 2 has Pac-Man, Rally X, New Rally X, and Dig Dug. So those are 7 games.
Oh, it does have new.
Why did they do Rally X and New Rally X? That's really weird.
I forgot they did that. Oh my god!
I feel like I've played the Rally X ones though. So and I played Pac-Man, so I had to have only seen Volume 2.
Yeah, there was a Volume 2 in Vegas that I played a decent amount of.
Then I must have played the same one. Honestly, because I don't remember that at my own arcade. It must have been in Vegas. That makes more sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, Rally X and New Rally X. That's really fucking weird. Anyway, so that's what was on there. We should have said we may have said this before. I don't remember. This compilation is $20, folks. What a steal! Get this.
It's so much value in here. I actually would have expected $30, honestly.
That's and I guess I was expecting when I got on the eShop, and it was not.
Yeah, I guess the physical is $30, but I mean, like, we both sprung on the $20 digital lickety split. Yeah, man, it's cool.
is there any games here that you wish were here? I mentioned Junior Pac-Man earlier. I know that was one of those Midway / Bally creations. I doubt they would recognize that. Then again, they recognized Miss Pac-Man for years until they weren't allowed to, right? So
Right.
I don't know. That might be the only thing I could say that I wish were here. Because this is pretty comprehensive.
It's super comprehensive, and I know this is going to be a pipe dream, and I think it's best reserved for like another compilation of some kind, but I almost would have liked to see a Pac-Man World or one of its sequels. I think that might have been interesting, but I think the scope of those are too big for something
Not
like
arcadey enough. Not arcadey enough.
They're not.
This is like a very arcade, yeah.
Right.
I guess it would have been cool to have Pac-Man 2 here to piss myself off with, but I mean...
Oh, that's like the Super Nintendo game. The New Adventures, I think it was, or... They're new.
You know Steve likes Pac-Man 2? He fucking likes that game.
Well, that's awkward.
Yeah. It's something, all right. I think I'll
move right along.
Yeah, we'll move right along to the ending here. Actually, I think we're a bit Pac-Man'd out. Wow, that's a lot more than I ever thought I'd talk about Pac-Man in one sitting. So you know where to find us. Find Time Podcast on Twitter. Then you can find him on Twitter at Lucentai. All those kind of links will be in the description of this podcast as well. Waka waka, bitches. Bye.
Waka waka waka.